Hello. Someone asked me a while back my thoughts on these newish Derwent watercolour paints, and I made a guess on what I thought they'd be like based on their price and the information that Derwent give about them. But my curiosity won out, and I managed to get a hold of a set from Amazon Warehouse for under £20, and it's classed as used but in as new condition. So I'll take a look at it today and have a play around with it. So it comes in what looks to be a fairly standard Derwent paint palette. I've got this line and wash set from Derwent. So it's a little bit narrower than that. But we'll see if these kind of paint pan trays are interchangeable sizes. Okay, so they're not the same size. My line and wash ones are smaller. And let's see if the individual pans are the same size. The watercolour pans are slightly bigger than the line and wash pans as well. I've just got my Winsor Newton palette that I put together recently. These aren't Winsor Newton pans, they're just generic ones from Amazon. So I'll compare the size. Yeah, so the bottom is the same footprint as these, but the top is wider, so you can't push it all the way down. You can see they're a bit smaller. So another thing I noticed when I first open it, is how loose the actual paint is inside the pans. So I don't want to turn it upside down, but if I did, I think these are loose enough that they would fall out, and the pans are loose enough that they would fall out, and the paint block is loose enough that it would fall out as well. So I think I'd probably be tempted to put a drop of maybe PVA glue in the bottoms of these. So it does come with a water brush, which it's one of those ones, I've noticed this on a couple of others, where you screw it the opposite way from how you usually would to get it off. I'm not a fan of water brushes, so I probably wouldn't be using this anyway. For today's swatching, I'll be using a number 8 silver black velvet brush. So before I try them out, it seems that the selling point of these is that they're developed for a consistently ultra smooth finish. So yeah, prevents uneven results. It says that they've been expertly formulated with fine art quality ingredients and light fast pigments to deliver an ultra smooth translucent wash. Each colour is highly pigmented and behaves consistently for ease of use, preventing unwanted, uneven results. So it says that they're artist quality pigments, which are light fast, but we're not actually given any of the pigment or light fast information. We've just got colour names, some of which are familiar paint names, and there's some others that I recognise from the Derwent Light Fast name range. So I'm going to give them a quick spray. Yeah, I don't enjoy how much everything moves around. I'll just do some little ovals. Well, definitely re-wets nicely and very vivid colours. So that was lemon cadmium. This is deep cadmium. I'll try and do a thinner wash down one side. I mean, this doesn't have the opacity, or it doesn't feel like it's got the opacity of an actual cadmium paint. I'll do some comparisons later. This is mango. I'll swatch out the rest now and speed that up. I forgot to record the middle few, but they're fairly similar in how they lay down. As I said, they re-wet okay. None of them are super pigmented, and across the whole colour range they are quite uniform, though some do have a little bit more texture than others. So you can see this mango is very smooth, whereas the magenta, some of the pigment has settled more into the dips in the paper, though I wouldn't go as far as to call it granulation. Quite a few of them have got a kind of a flocculation though, kind of like an almost scaly pattern, and that's something that I've come across before in some student grade paints. I definitely wouldn't call these professional quality watercolour paints, though how did Derwent phrase it? Fine art quality ingredients. I haven't watched any other review videos on this set or anything, but painting them out just then wasn't a particularly enjoyable experience. I mean, they're fine, they re-wet and they paint, but they just feel a little bit dull and flat, and they just don't seem to have the life in them that professional watercolour paints have. The first yellow one I painted did seem very vibrant at first, but that's the brightest of all of them, and even that faded a little bit. I actually just pulled out this set of watercolours, which are pretty widely available, just a student grade kind of set, and this is what sprang. I haven't used this for ages, but this is what sprung to mind, and I'm just curious to do a comparison with these. I'm just pulling a few colours out that I think might be comparable. So this purple's a bit weaker. I'd say in general though, if anything, these are nicer than the Derwent ones. They're just a bit more pigmented and vibrant, well, with the exception of this purple. So I've pulled out this Winsor Newton palette, and I chose the Winsor Newtons because I think they are as uniform paints as you're going to get out of the professional watercolours that I've tried, though the Snellier are quite smooth and slightly more uniform than other brands as well. So I'll just do a couple of comparisons then. So this is the Lemon Cadmium Derwent. And this is Lemon Cadmium Winsor Newton. To be honest, you're not going to see much difference with the yellow, but I can feel the difference with how much more pigment load there is with the Winsor & Newton. And that is the difference that you'd expect between a 30-odd pound paint set of 24 colours and some professional watercolours, which are a lot more expensive. I just think that Derwent are being a little bit deceptive when they say that these are fine art quality ingredients and that they're highly pigmented. So this is the Derwent Amethyst. And a similar colour from the Winsor & Newton set is Permanent Mauve. So again, at first glance, pretty similar. It just feels that I'm picking up more pigment when I'm painting with the Winsor & Newtons. Then this is the Derwent Ultramarine, which is quite a cool ultramarine. It feels more like a phthalo blue, really. So I'll compare it to the ultramarine green shade, which is the slightly cooler than French ultramarine one from Winsor & Newton. It's really hard to describe the difference in the experience of painting with the two different types of paints. The professional ones are just way more enjoyable to paint with. So this is Derwent Jade Green. And this isn't an exact match colour-wise, but this is Winsor Green blue shade. This is olive green. And this is Winsor & Newton's olive green. It's just faster to paint with the Winsor & Newton ones because you can pick up more paint or more pigment readily. You can kind of get to the depth of colour that you want more quickly. I'll just do one more. So this is the Derwent Terracotta. And I think the closest I've got is Winsor Newton's light red. So I'm not sure if that was actually a particularly helpful demonstration, because I'm not sure if the camera will pick up the differences that I can see. But it was very useful to me to feel the difference between the two different ranges, because painting with the Winsor Newtons was just a far more enjoyable experience, even just for these splodges. It says that the Derwent paints deliver an ultra smooth translucent wash. And so I think I was expecting them to be a little bit more transparent than they are. I can see where I've gone over the writing in a few places, that the paint's definitely covering the black pen quite a bit. So some of them at least do have a fair bit of opacity about them. And looking at them together now that they're all dried, I'd say that they've got an almost chalky-like appearance to them. And now that these superior ones have dried, I'd say that they've retained their vibrancy much better than the Derwent ones have. And that was with an equal amount of water and effort required to pick up the paints. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to have just a little colour mixing session. So those make some nice mixes. Oops. These superior ones pick up a lot more pigment. So I've made that a bit strong. But there's the purple anyway. So I guess to summarise, I was expecting student grade paints from the Derwent set, but I think I was expecting a little bit more from them than they actually delivered. I think the chalkiness and flatness of them is a little bit disappointing. And I know they were designed to be a smooth set without granulation and that kind of thing. But even comparing them to another student grade set, which is also a very kind of flat uniform set, the Derwent still didn't compare very favourably. I think the superior paints don't have that chalkiness. They've kept their colours a lot more vibrant. Though I do have to say that we're not told anything about the pigments or possibly dyes used in the superior set. Whereas with the Derwent set, we are told that they are light fast. Though I do take that with a pinch of salt when we're not actually given light fast information or told to what standard they're tested to. With other Derwent products, so like their drawing pencils for example, they're given blue wool scale ratings. So if these were properly tested for light fastness, I'm not sure why they wouldn't tell us that. I'm not saying that you wouldn't be able to paint some lovely paintings with the Derwent set, though they might lack a bit of vibrancy. But I wouldn't buy this set just because of the Derwent name. I think there are much better student grade paints out there. And the box itself just feels a little bit cheap and ill-fitting. even compared to those of similar designs. I got this really cheap one off Amazon quite a while back. So you can see the pans at least are a similar design, but they're just more sturdy. Though I have put my own watercolour tube paints into these, but they don't move around like these ones do. So sorry to be a bit of a downer, especially if you have the set and really enjoy it, but I just wanted anyone who was thinking about the set to see it in context with some other paints and not just assume that it's going to be amazing because it's the Derwent name on it. I hope this was useful anyway, and please let me know your thoughts on the set in the comments, especially if you've used it a fair bit and have something else that you'd like to add. Thanks for watching anyway. Bye!